From the Chatterbox Sports Studio in Hamilton, Ohio, this is Not Too Picky with Paul Fritzner.
Welcome into a Thursday show. Here it is October 6, 2022. I'm Paul Fritzner, and this is Not Too Picky. Casey McAllister, Brandon Sejo over there as always. Reed Mouse will be in with us. And we have a massive Thursday show for a big Columbus Day weekend of sports ahead of us. We have Jeremy Kahn, who will be on first as our first guest of this afternoon's show. He will be on to preview the Bengals and the Ravens. Sunday Night Football, 8:25 on NBC this coming Sunday. Can't wait for that one. Jeremy is a host of 105.7 Sports Talk host out in Baltimore, so he'll bring the Ravens perspective. I told him today on Twitter, we were texting back and forth too, and I said, hey, man, look, I don't care if you join this conversation on an audio call, a video call. I don't care if you're texting in, whatever you have to do to get us a winner, because our guests right now are on a 4-pick winning streak. Got to make it 5. Jeremy's pick will be our guest pick of the show. He will be on first to talk about the Bengals and the Ravens. Then we have Tommy G, Tom Gallagher, the voice of FC Cincinnati. It's decision day for FC on Sunday in the district, playing DC United, the worst team in the MLS. So he'll be on to preview that, give you a little look into that match for FC Cincinnati as they try to get to the postseason. Then, of course, it's our normal Thursday with Mike Schmaltz for some NASCAR and whatever Mike has up his sleeve, and Reed for an MLB playoff preview and our normal college football picks and everything else. Want to thank everybody that has followed us on TikTok. We've started posting on there, Instagram, Reels, TikToks, everything like that, starting to go out, some more video content that we'll have for you. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter, and also got word from our partners over at Headlines that those T-shirts that everybody got into the DMs for a couple of weeks ago, those are very close, probably ready about next week, so you should be seeing those in the next couple of weeks. Now that we have all of that out of the way, let's get right into it, and let's start with some of the local teams first. The Reds, their season is over. For the second time in franchise history, they lose 100 games. Any positives? One of them, pointed out by Jared Smith of PicksWise earlier today, they were the most profitable Nerfy team this year. If you bet the Reds not to score a run, the Reds and their opponent, a Nerfy, not to score a run in the first inning, you were plus 30.21 units. So that tells you if you bet $100 on the Reds Nerfies, if you got it at minus 110, if you got it at normal odds, you'd be at about $3,000 on following the Reds all season on that bet. So a great bet for the Reds if you had followed that for all 162 games. But the Reds losing 100 for the first time in quite a while, and the second time in franchise history. Reds have, I want to say that you hope that the Reds have bottomed out and it's only up from here, but we'll have to see what kind of investment the ownership and everybody makes into this team to see if they can right the ship, maybe hit their over for wins totals next year. They came up about, I think, 10 or 12 short of that this year. I think it was 73.5, and they ended up at 62 wins. So that's even that 11 wins to make up for that, or 12 wins wherever you got your win total. That's a tough one for the Reds. Let's look to college football this weekend. The Bearcats, they are minus 27.5 against South Florida this weekend. The total is at 59.5. USF, they're 1-4. They have a win over Howard. Their only win, Howard, is an FCS team. They don't have a win over an FBS program this year. 3 of their 4 losses have been by 20 or more. The one exception to that, though, is a close loss to Florida, of all teams. I don't like anything about this game from a betting perspective. South Florida's been all over the place to be able to cover a number like this. They only scored 3 points against Louisville earlier this year, but they scored 21 against BYU. They scored 28 against Florida. USF's totals, though, in the games that USF has played, they've scored 71, 62, 61, 44, and 76 combined in the games that they've played so far. If you're looking at a total, At 59.5, I'd lean towards the over. That's really the only thing that I'd suggest in this game. 27.5 for Cincinnati is just too big of a spread for me to not see some sort of garbage time South Florida touchdown in the end that screws you over and ruins your Saturday. The last thing you want to do if you're a Bearcats fan on homecoming weekend is be sad because USF covered 27.5 at the death. So just take the over. It's homecoming weekend for Cincinnati. Take the over. Root for some points and hope that South Florida can get you a few on the way there. Miami-Oxford plus 5.5 against Kent State. The total there is 57. I'd lean again for the total here towards the over. This game opened at 2.5 for Kent State, and it's all the way up now to 5.5, so a 3-point swing. Kent State has played an impossibly tough schedule. If you remember, they played Georgia pretty close. Miami is on a 10-game home winning streak. I feel like this could be a classic MAC game. I'm not really sure what to expect out of Miami after a tough loss last week against Buffalo. Miami probably should have won that game, or at least should have gone to overtime for a chance for Miami to win it in overtime. But that penalty cost them the opportunity to do that. Buffalo scores a touchdown right towards the end of the game. So Miami at plus 5.5. Again, I'd lean towards the total there. But I'm not taking a side in Miami and Kent State. It's just the point movement from 2.5 to 5.5 is a little too much for me. Kent State, though, I like the way that they've handled their tough schedule so far. They've shown an ability to score at points. Kent State at 57 with Miami, maybe towards some points there. And the third over I'm going to suggest in a row is Ohio State. I don't even need to go too much into this game. They're playing at Michigan State, who's just not very good. Ohio State's minus 27 in this game. Don't think too much. Don't overthink this game. I know it's at 65. I know that's a lot. Ohio State covered 58.5 with Rutgers last weekend. Don't overthink this total. I know 65 this game. You're thinking, okay, what is a Michigan State? What do you have to do there to get into this over? Again, Ohio State's offense is on historic trajectories right now. Root for the points. Kentucky minus 6 against South Carolina. This is a really weird one to me. It opened at minus 11.5 for Kentucky. It's raced all the way down to under a touchdown. It's now at minus 6. 77% of the money is on South Carolina, but 60% of the bets are on Kentucky. Take that for what you will. I like Kentucky at under a touchdown here. I'm going to keep riding the Will Levis train. I did it last week against Ole Miss. I'm going to keep doing it until it fails me. I feel like this should be above a touchdown right now if you can get it under a touchdown before maybe it swings back the other way and bounces back up. I don't know if it will, just the way that the line has moved all week as I've been watching this line move down and down and down towards South Carolina. This is a Kentucky team that probably should have beat Ole Miss. They left several scoring drives on the field. You leave an extra point, you leave a missed field goal, and then the touchdown that got called back on the penalty at the end of the game. I like Kentucky minus 6 a lot. I'm sure Reed will have some thoughts on that later, especially because he was on the opposite side of that last week with the Ole Miss game. Notre Dame minus 3.5 versus BYU in the Shamrock Series in Vegas. I don't like that this has gotten over a field goal, although I still think Notre Dame can win this game out in the desert. They've looked a little better. Drew Pine has looked more serviceable than he did when he came in to start, taking over from Tyler Buckner. BYU had that major blowout against Oregon earlier this season. Outside of that, they've looked the part. For the most part, they have. I would probably say in this one that I'll be taking Notre Dame. I'm gonna spend a little more time looking into it as we get closer to the weekend, so make sure you stay on the Not Too Picky Twitter and Instagram where we'll have the graphics and everything. Sometimes I change things up right at the end if anything really catches my eye. But for now, those are the local games that we're looking at. A couple of those we'll probably get into a little more later as the show goes on. Jeremy Kahn is on the other side of this break for some Bengals and Ravens talk to preview the Sunday Night Football match. He tells me he has a winner. I sure hope he does to extend the streak. Stay with us right here on Not Too Picky.
At United Dairy Farmers, we've perfected freshness in our family bakery, where we use only the finest ingredients, like thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts, before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time, and if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
Back on Not Too Picky, and I'm bringing on Jeremy Kahn, 105.7, The Fan, out in Baltimore. Jeremy, you were nice enough last year when I was broadcasting for the Bowie Bay Sox to bring me on your show on 105.7, so now I'm here in Cincinnati, and I wanted to be nice enough to return the favor to you and welcome you on to Not Too Picky. You are a gambling guy yourself. You proudly publish all of your winners to the faithful followers that you have on Twitter, so I thought who else would be better to bring some winners to the good people of Cincinnati and Baltimore that are listening into this. Bengals and Ravens on Sunday Night Football. Jeremy, how are you? I love the beard.
Oh, thanks, man. It's this thing happened during the pandemic, and it's been interesting to say the least. I can't eat ice cream or soup anymore because then I wind up looking like a child, but that's how it goes, man. So
you kind of got that Santa vibe, right? You're giving out all the picks. That's what you're doing. You're giving out winners.
Yeah, and then the thing I'm sorry, I keep blocking my damn camera. I can't get this thing right.
You're fine.
The funny thing is somebody had told me that I look like Tim Allen in the Santa Claus, and the hardest thing for me was to realize that I have to look at Tim Allen as a sex symbol, or else now, all my future endeavors are in trouble, and I got to realize what my wife's looking at. So I do kind of look like the transformation of Tim Allen. But yeah, it's not pleasant to say the least. That's why the more fur that covers my face, the better off we are.
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking to myself, you look really familiar. Now I know it's because you're going down chimneys with some reindeer. That's exactly what it is. So
exactly.
What kind of winners do you have to deliver us for Christmas in October, Jeremy?
So I got a question. When you said you had the 4-game streak or the 4-win streak,
yeah.
Was that on Cincinnati games or was that just any?
No. Okay, so the way I've structured these interviews is that we have you on. We talk about, you and I are here talking about the Bengals and the Ravens. I've had some people on to talk about college football picks, whatever it might be. And then I'll always close the interview and ask you to provide our loyal listeners with a winner. And so our last, really I should say our last 5 guests, we've only had one loser, one pushed. So we're on a 4-pick winning streak right now. So we'll close this interview with your winner, but I'll take your thoughts on the game the rest of the way.
Okay, so with Cincinnati and Baltimore, it's always a tough one, and I think the field goal is the right number. Having it at 3, the Ravens losing 2 home games where they've only trailed for 14 seconds in the second half the entire season. That happen to be the 2 losses where they blow a 21 and 17-point lead. They've got wholesale issues as far as the pass rush goes. Their inside linebacker play has not been great. The secondary, although it's ranked last, the secondary is really good, but if you have no pass rush, it doesn't really matter. And that's shown. So we don't know if Gus Edwards will be back Sunday. I don't expect him, but he did just start practicing again. J.K. Dobbins looked better last week. I kind of have a feel that these 2 teams are going to feel each other out, and we may see the under hit, I believe, at 48.
Yep.
I just feel like the field goal is the right number. And then usually when I feel that way, I'd rather go with the underdog +3. But I think it lands on that number. I think this is like a 24-21 type game.
Yeah, the DraftKings Sportsbook has the total at 48.5 right now. The Bengals at +3, actually. That line hasn't really moved too much. It's kind of hovered around 3 or 3.5. I'd like to know from you, Jeremy, watching the way that the Ravens have blown a couple of these games this year. You look at the game against Miami, you look at the game this past weekend against Buffalo, 2 17-point leads that the Ravens defense hasn't been able to hold up, especially in the second half. What's the mood like around Baltimore? How are Baltimore natives taking to this team? Are they seeing some things where it's just saying, hey, we need to close out the game, or is there frustration on a bigger level?
Yeah, it's funny to me, man, because I was saying it the other week, so they lose to Miami in that crazy fashion. The sky is falling. The defense stinks. Fire Harbaugh. Then they come back and win what I believe is an ugly game against New England, where if Kyle Hamilton doesn't punch the ball out, I think New England wins the game. And Mac Jones and that offense with these, I don't want to say no names because we know the players, but it's not a great receiving core. It's not a great running back core, although they run the ball efficiently. And they put up tons of yards on the Ravens. But the Ravens win, and everything's right again. We're going to the Super Bowl. And then the next week, they blow a game to the Bills, and it's fire the coach. We suck. How are we even going to get in the playoffs? Can we do this? Can we do that? It's the ebbs and flows of football season. It's just kind of weird that this stuff has happened early on. And the other thing that's been going on now is they're talking about the extended losing streak at home going back to last year. But Lamar didn't play the second half of last season, or most of it. I mean, he was 8-4 as a starter and had the best record in the AFC before everybody got hurt. And this isn't a homer telling you all this stuff. I think the Ravens are a really good team that need to figure out their pass rush. They just signed JPP. But fans are losing their minds, and I think they're not used to seeing a Ravens team win high-scoring games and win shootouts. It's usually been, hey, go out and get us 14 points, and the defense will keep them under 10, and we'll win the game. But fans it's been a roller coaster ride for them. They want to know what's going on with the defense and Mike McDonald. They want to know Harbaugh going for it on fourth down, trying to score a touchdown. And then they end up throwing a pick, and it gets brought out to the 20, and they lose the game on the last-second field goal against Buffalo. So that's obviously been a huge talking point this past week of why did he go for it on fourth?
Yeah, no doubt. It's something that he answered. And it's funny when you look at how aggressive guys like Harbaugh are, when you have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson and you just sort of trust a guy like Lamar, you always see Lamar and Harbaugh talking to each other saying to them, hey, do we want to go for this? It's like, hey, if you want to go for this, then I want to go for this. Let's just go out and be aggressive. And is that confidence weaning, you think?
I mean, maybe to an extent. I think the more and more, or the longer this stuff goes on, if the defense doesn't start getting after the quarterback, if they don't make plays, I think we'll continue to talk about it. But let's be honest, the league is wide open, though, right? I mean, especially in the NFC where we don't know who's good outside of Philadelphia. But in the AFC, it's kind of a two-horse race right now, and we were just talking about it this morning. I said, I'm not trying to dismiss Cleveland. I've got no problem dismissing Pittsburgh. I still think they'll be okay eventually, but I don't like what I'm seeing out of their offense and their defense. But with Cincinnati kind of getting it right, and you knew they would, that this is a two-team division. With all due respect to Cleveland, if they can weather the storm and go 5-6 or 6-5 and then get Deshaun Watson back, things could get a little bit more interesting, but then he's got to be perfect, in my opinion, the rest of the way. So, you just got to make sure. I think this is such an important game. I don't think it's a must win, but it's hugely important. And then the thing the Ravens have been talking about is just how bad Cincinnati beat them up last year. I mean, I think it's the third most yardage against a singular team in NFL history that Burrow had. I might be off on that. I thought there were two more that were a little bit better, but he put up 900 and some yards on the Ravens last year. It's absurd.
Yeah, he threw for over 500 in the one game. They scored 41 points in both games. And it was, I think, a sticking point for the Bengals in those games too. They felt a little disrespected, all that talk. Was that Wink that was doing all that talking last year? I think that was who it was.
Full jacket stuff.
Yeah. And so going back and forth, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, now here comes Joe Burrow. And at one point, I think in the first game, it was a little close in the beginning, and then all of a sudden, it turned into a blowout. And now you're thinking to yourself, all right, that's on the forefront of the Ravens' mind. And it's another primetime game. Unlike what we've seen forever under Marvin Lewis, Bengals have played pretty well in primetime. They're coming off a primetime win against Miami. You saw a primetime win last year against Jacksonville on Thursday Night Football. The Bengals have been better than serviceable when the lights have been brightest lately. And you look at what they did in the playoffs on the way to the Super Bowl, and now all of a sudden you're going to have another primetime game, back-to-back situations where the Bengals are going to have to perform when it matters the most, when everybody in the country's watching. What does the Ravens feel with primetime, you think?
I mean, they've been up and down. We know they're going to wear their all black, which they usually have the blackouts for primetime games. But the other thing that factors into this is Cincinnati getting a few extra days to get ready, which I always love from a gambling standpoint, looking at it going forward. But you'd have, we've always felt here in Baltimore that Cincinnati was almost like little brother, whether or not that's fair or not, how things have gone on. And then they came in and beat Big Brother's butt last year. So I feel like that the Ravens, if I was John Harbaugh, I'd put that number of yards that Burrow threw for in both games added up, and I'd put it all over the damn place at the facilities, and then make them see that number, because it is embarrassing. And right now, the Ravens are coming into this game with the worst pass defense in football statistically. I don't think they'll be that way by the end of the year, but that's what it looks like. So they're going to have to be opportunistic. And we've seen, if you give Joe Burrow time to get ready, or if you give him time back there behind the offensive line. Hell, the guy was getting shell-shocked last year, getting sacked so many times, and he got up every single time, was ready to throw the ball again. So I think it's an incredibly tough game, but the Ravens have been, kind of hit or miss when it comes to primetime.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some picks here, Jeremy. The Ravens are -3 at home, Sunday Night Football. Total's 48.5. You can pick the Ravens, you can pick the Bengals, you can pick a prop, you can pick the total. You can do whatever you want. If you got more than one, you can do anything you want. You said you had something that you love. What do you have for me?
Yeah. So I have something that I love in another game, but I'll give you the Ravens.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I'll tell you, this is going to be a vomit play that I give you for my favorite play of the weekend, but I'll explain why. But,
okay,
when you look at a game like this, I do think that we see defensive-minded teams come out and try to force their will. In divisional games, you can see that quite a bit. So I expect a low-scoring first half, and we will see some fireworks in the second half. And by the way, I'm the number one member of the Jamar Chase fan club, as I was screaming about him last year, and that it would take him at least 2 years to be in a top 5 wide receiver, and it only took him 1. So I was wrong on that. But, they're going to give him some extra attention, I believe. As far as winners this weekend, there's a couple of games that stand out to me. Like, I like the over in the Jets-Miami game, which I know a lot of people are going to be on the under. I think that's the wrong side of it. I think that Jets offense is a little bit more powerful with Zach back there slinging the ball than Joe Flacco checking it down.
46 right now.
Yeah,
46 right now.
I like that over. I like New Orleans getting New Orleans getting Seattle coming there after their big win in Detroit, back-to-back road games on the East Coast, or relatively speaking. But my favorite play of the weekend, which is such a vomit play, I like the Washington Commanders. I don't know if you have them at 1.5 or 2.5, where it's sitting right now. There's some serious reverse line movement going on this game with all the money coming in on the Tennessee Titans. But again, it's another situation where they just knocked off a division rival in an emotional game where they got a bunch of turnovers, and now they got to go back on the road and face Washington. I think Washington's going to put it on them and beat them this weekend. I like the Commanders. It's my favorite play of the weekend. I saw it at +1.5. I'll take 2.5 if you see it, but I'm seeing the line go in the wrong direction.
+1.5 for the Washington Commanders at home against the Tennessee Titans. Just to be clear, that's what you're giving me.
My favorite play of the weekend. Yes, sir.
Oh. You know what that does, Jeremy, is it gets audience, it gets the blood pressure going a little bit. That's not a layup pick. That is one that I'm going to guess at 1 o'clock on Sunday we're going to have to sit down and have a conversation and stress a little bit about.
Yeah. Well, have me back whether I'm right or wrong whenever you want. You can make fun of me or tell me how great of a pick it was, but I think Washington wins this weekend.
Well, I will tag you in the graphic on Sunday, and I will make sure that you know that your reputation with this show is on the line. See if we can stretch the streak to 5. Anything on the college side? I'll put you on the spot a little bit. Anything on the college side that stuck out?
I kind of heard you in the last segment. I like Notre Dame a lot this weekend. I think they're in a really good spot, and you can look at them being favored. A lot of people – I love to do this when it comes to college. Top 25 teams when they're underdogs against teams that are unranked. And we know Notre Dame should be a ranked team, but the fact that they're fair, I love that spot for them. I think Georgia's I know it's a 30-point spread or roughly around there. They're going to put it on Auburn. I just think they spank them. And then tonight, Thursday Night Football, I like the over in tonight's game. I think we see some points on the short week where I know everybody's like, man, the Colts offense stinks. The Denver Broncos offense stinks. I think we get points tonight and it goes over the total.
Oh, okay, because I was about to give the under in the third segment of the show, so now you're going to make me rethink everything.
Hey, you don't have to rethink it. I'm not right on that. Like, I had a nice little streak going on. Baseball season was really, really kind to me. Football season started off strong as I hit my top plays the first 3 weeks. But I had the Colts this last week, so I was a little upset. And now I'm going back against the Titans again, so we'll see how it happens or how it shakes out.
Well, I can't let you go without talking about the Orioles here. They smashed their win total for the season. They finish over 500. The 2021 Bowie Bay Sox carried the Orioles to just the cusp of a playoff spot. I did have a future on the Orioles to make the playoffs. I got it at plus 800 back at like the last week of July or first week. It was right when they were winning games, but like the books hadn't really caught up to it yet outside of the All-Star break. And I thought for a little while there I was sitting pretty, and they were in the third spot for like 2 days, and then they just never really got back into it. But I was watching those videos last night of the standing ovation that the people at Camden Yards were giving the Orioles, and what a cool scene and what a sight for the city to have some positivity going forward.
Oh, man, it's awesome. And, like, it's so funny to see them so far ahead of where they should be. Yeah. And they're just trying to explain to people, because I kept saying it all year long. Like, you guys are going to be frustrated when the trade deadline comes up because they're going to trade players and everybody's going to bitch about it and complain. And sure enough, it happened, right? Like, everybody's screaming they're getting killed by ESPN and all these other outlets, and they did the right thing by making those moves. And then they almost make the playoffs, and now we head in the offseason, and fans are going to get upset when they finally go out and it's a great shortstop market. They could definitely use a power hitter in the middle of the lineup where a guy like Jose Abreu makes a ton of sense. And then people would say, well, what about Ryan Mountcastle? What about these other? I think they end up packaging a couple of players and maybe a prospect and go out and try to get themselves what they believe to be a frontline starter. We'll just see what happens. But this is one of the most fun off seasons we're going to have as Oriole fans. And we've been dying. I mean, you've been here. That we've been waiting for it again after the Buck Showalter years and having a couple good seasons there, but never amounting to much except a sweep against the Royals, where in 4 games, I think they were outscored by 5 runs or 6 runs. So, that was an ugly one, but fans want to get back there again.
Well, Jeremy, I really appreciate you taking the time. You're going to make us sweat with the Commanders plus 1.5, but you're the guest, and that's the pick we're riding with. So that's what we're going to do for the weekend. The Bengals and the Ravens play again on January 8th. If you're so willing, at that point, gambling will be legal in Ohio. Sports betting will be legal in Ohio at that point. We'll have you back on, and we'll break down the week 18 matchup if you're able to do that then.
Absolutely. You're giving me the ugly week. Try to pick a winner in week 18.
All right, Jeremy, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Have a great week.
Thanks again, guys.
See you, Jeremy. That was Jeremy Kahn from 105.7 in Baltimore. Great to have him on. And now we're going to have to sweat the Washington Commanders against the Titans out in D.C. on Sunday at 1 o'clock. On the other side of this break, we will have Tommy G, FC Cincinnati, the voice of FCC, to talk about the upcoming decision day for FCC and how to take a look at that one for Sunday. We'll be right back.
I know one thing, ain't nobody does this better than us. Facts.
again to Jeremy Kahn. I see a lot of people here I see Justin Fields is in the YouTube chat. Reed Rule, as always. Reed Mouse has been in the chat. Reed's going to be on the show here in a minute. But if you have some picks, if you have some winners, the chat is on a 4-pick winning streak too. So if you have some winners for the weekend and you're watching right now, throw it into the chat. We'll pick the YouTube chat's winner at the end of the show. But now it's time to welcome in Tommy G. Tommy, first of all, thanks for joining us. It's Decision Day on Sunday.
Right.
How excited are you as the voice of a team that was quite honestly a disaster last season, that just, as I've said on this show, snatched defeat from the jaws of victory and has just so wonderfully turned it around this year? I've so much enjoyed watching FC this year and watching your broadcasts and tuning in for a team that hasn't lost since July, and now they're on the cusp of winning or advancing to the postseason. How exciting is that for you, and how much have you enjoyed the year?
Oh, it's been insanely enjoyable, right? Now, first and foremost, thanks for having me on and giving me this chance to chat with you. But look, this is a team that we were kind of joking earlier this week in a chat with our producer. We were like, look, on Decision Day the last 3 years, it's always been look ahead to the future. The league provides a lot of resources on Decision Day, live standings, live brackets, highlights of other games going on, so you can go to a 2-box, right? And you can have highlights. Okay, well, so-and-so just scored, so now FC Cincinnati is the 5 seed and not the 6 seed, or, whatever it might be. But we haven't used any of that because there's been no reason to use any of that, right?
Yeah.
So, look, it's exciting. I think that everybody hoped that after year one with Chris Albright and Pat Noonan that we would be having relevant conversations this week, right? And relevant could mean 8th or 9th place and just hoping to sneak in somehow, some way. And now the team's in the driver's seat. If they get a result at DC, a team that they very much should get a result against, but can't go in and expect to win, but a team they very much should be able to get a result against, then they're in the playoffs and still a chance that they could be as high as the 5 seed. So, very exciting Sunday on tap.
Yeah, this is only the second time that FCC and DC have met this year. DC United won the first one, 1-0 back in March. That was only the second match for FC of the season. And now you fast forward to the end of the season. Was there anything about that match you feel like from March that fans can look at or remember, or is this an entirely different team?
Well, no. Look, both teams are going to be a lot different than they were on that March 5th matchup. But here's the thing. That game was the catalyst for the success of this season, because that's when they turned the corner after that terrible match against Austin to open the year. 5-0 on opening night on the road down in Texas. And they changed their formation. They changed how they were doing things. They went to a 3-5-2 for the first time. And it was 0-0, remember, and Jeff Cameron got called for a handball very late in the match, giving DC a penalty kick, which Ola Kamara converted. Now you fast forward from match day number 2 all the way to match day number 34, the longest break between playing two opponents all season for FC Cincinnati, and it's going to be very, very different. DC, of course, they've hired Wayne Rooney, right? He's brought in a couple guys from Europe that will play in this match. Ola Kamara has been hurt. Bill Hamid has been hurt. Russell Canals hasn't played a whole lot lately. There's a lot of guys who played in that game for DC on March 5th who aren't going to play on Sunday. For FC Cincinnati, a lot of the guys who played on March 5th will play in the match. But remember, Obina Wobodo wasn't part of the roster then. Matt Miazga was not part of the roster then. And I would expect that both those guys will start on Sunday at 2:30. So it will be a bit different for FC Cincinnati. I think what we're going to see from DC will be a lot different than what they ran out in a 1-0 victory that they got because of a late handball. What was it, in the 89th, 90th minute when DC was actually down a man.
Tommy, I don't know if you read it. There was a great article, I think it was in the Washington Post a few weeks ago, about Wayne Rooney and what he's done to dedicate himself to turning this DC United team around, and how he's left his family over in England. He's been over here, and it's just been 100%, hey, how do I develop this team into what they are? And they've only won 7 matches this year. That's one of them, that win over FC back on the second match day of the year. So they've only won 6 others. This team in FC Cincinnati that currently is sitting in 5th, there's only one scenario where FC does not make the postseason, and that is with a DC United win and a draw between Columbus and Orlando. The other 9 scenarios all include an FC Cincinnati trip to the postseason. What does that sound like to you, for me to vocalize that and for you to hear it as the voice of this team that has put in so much work for this organization to turn it around in 1 year, to now have a situation where you're seeing TQL Stadium fill back up, the life is in the stadium, and they're right on the doorstep of giving this city what they've been looking for?
No, it's what the club's all about, right? You talk about giving the city what they're looking for, and Cincinnati loves a winner. Jeff Berding has always said that, right? 2019 obviously was very much the honeymoon in joining MLS, coming on to the league that season. But then you push forward and you have 2020, which is the COVID year, wasn't good. And last season, which was opening TQL Stadium, and it wasn't good. And the team finishes in last place. So to make this leap in the first year under Pat Noonan, look, that's been huge for the club, but it's really exciting. It's the goosebumps, right, that you're going to have on Sunday for 2 hours while FC Cincinnati fights and tries to get a win. That's the easiest path. You talk about the scenarios. There's 9 scenarios that could play out that affect Cincinnati, 8 of which put the orange and blue into the playoffs. But look, the club doesn't want to go through the back door to get in there, right? They want to win to lock it up and get the best seed available and possible. Because if you're the 5 seed, a couple things fall your way and you advance through the playoffs, you could end up with a home game at some point. So, look, there's a lot to play for. You can't, you don't want a backdoor. You just got to go and win the game and take care of business yourself. Then you don't have to worry about scoreboard watching. You don't have to worry about keeping track of anybody else except to figure out who you're playing the following week. So, no, I think, look, for the employees of the club, for the players who've been here for a while, for the staff, for the faithful fans who have stuck by this team for the last 4 years, there's a lot of people who are really, really excited that the team is in this position and that much more excited, hopefully, next weekend to be able to cheer on the club in the playoffs.
So this is a gambling show, and FC Cincinnati, they were around, I think, plus 110 on the money line. It's a 3-way money line, obviously, in soccer. FC Cincinnati was around plus 110 on Monday. They're now at minus 105. The draw is plus 280, and DC United is plus 230. FCC at minus 105 with a chance to win and get in the postseason. I know it's on the road, but it just about even money to win this game to seal up a postseason berth has to sound pretty good, right?
You are speaking Japanese to me right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Either way, I'm strictly prohibited from giving any indication of what I think about odds or anything like that. So I'm not even going to touch it. But when you get into pluses and minuses and everything, just tell me the over under or tell me what the spread is or something. But I can't even touch it. So I don't know.
Okay.
I think FC Cincinnati's going to come out and play well. I'll tell you that much. I think they haven't had great performances the last 2 games. Okay. And I think that the team is determined, right? They've done enough to be a playoff team, and I expect them to be a playoff team.
Yeah, and that was the last thing that I wanted to ask you here before we let you go is you're talking about a team that is coming off a performance against Chicago at home with a chance to basically seal up a berth. You lose 3-2 in one of your worst showings in a while. How much is that weighing on these guys' minds, if at all, and where do you see this team as an ability to respond off of a loss like that?
Well, they've responded from losses well this year. If you remember, they strung together that unbeaten streak of 11 games after the loss at Columbus 2-0 on July 17th, which was the last loss before Saturday. So, being down 3-0 to Chicago, that was their biggest deficit since that previously mentioned Austin game in match day number 1. And they've honestly, since that Austin game, only trailed by 2 goals a couple times. So they've been in games all season, and they put themselves back in the game and missed tying the game by about that much. As Alvaro Barrial's shot went just wide of the post, right at the death. So, look, this is a team that competes every night. They've gotten a result most of the nights that Roman Celentano has been in goal. That was the first time they lost with Matt Biazga in the starting lineup. So things are going their team's way. The last 2 performances haven't been great, and they're going to have to be better on Sunday and then obviously beyond if they survive beyond Sunday, because then you're in the playoffs and it's one and done. So, I mean, this is like a playoff game because a win guarantees that your life, that your season continues. And that's going to be the situation the rest of the way.
Tommy G, it's always great to talk to you, and I hope for your sake you have just been such a phenomenal public figure for this club. I've enjoyed listening to you for years, and all the best to you and the club on Sunday, and hopefully we're talking again after a win and a postseason berth, and hey, maybe we see you down at TQL for a home postseason match. How about that?
Hey, you never know. That would be awesome. The place would be absolutely rocking if we can make it happen. So
no doubt.
All the best, my friend.
And hey, I'm a DC native, so if you need any suggestions in DC, if you're trying to go out and get something to eat, whatever, you let me know. Happy to recommend.
Text. Sounds good.
All right.
Appreciate you,
Tommy. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Tommy G, just the best. Just such a great ambassador for FC. Appreciate him taking the time to come on, and now have another ambassador. And this is just going to be great. Mike Schmaltz. Mike, I see you wearing. Is that your own merch?
Yeah, this is merch. This is a debut of the merch. What do you think? Yes. Right there.
So is that one of a kind?
It is. It's one of one. Available. We can order them for you. If anybody wants to get on the train, we'll figure out a reasonable price and we'll get them out there.
So it's a shirt that has your Twitter handle, Schmaltzlosophy, on it. Where did you get that made, and why did you get that made?
It's an old school. Well, why not? First of all, and then secondly, it's one of those sort of late night internet situations where you're like, wow, let's see if this really works. I think it came from China. It took a while, and I kind of forgot I did it, and it showed up yesterday. So here it is.
It showed up yesterday?
Yeah.
When you sent me that text last night, the picture of it, I thought that was something old that you were just showing me because you were going to be on the show. It actually showed up when you sent me that text.
Yeah, it arrived yesterday, but I did it a little while ago, apparently.
All right.
It's the perfect situation in which to use it, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's your own personal brand. So what does the Schmaltzlosophy brand have for us this weekend? I know probably you have some NASCAR to talk about. Do you have anything else?
That's the big finish. All right, so here's what I think tonight, right, with the Colts and the Broncos. So Jonathan Taylor's out, correct?
Yep.
The Colts don't run it well, but they run it for 88 yards a game, about. I think Nyheim Hines is in there for – he's plus 100 if he's over 37.5. I think he can get half of those yards. They're still going to be out there, right? So Lindsey's going to be the other running back. I think Nyheim Hines has a huge day that way, so that's plus 100. There's a little value there. He's minus 115 is Hines for over 28.5 receiving yards. I think that can happen. Colts throw it for like 280 a game. And I'll give Nyheim Hines a plus 170 on an anytime touchdown. What do you think of that one?
What's funny is in reading some things about this game, I've heard some love for Nyheim Hines, and then here you come in here just singing his praises too. I don't hate it. In fact, I like it.
Well, he's the best available option, right?
Yeah, what I liked the most actually was the rushing yards at plus 100 because you feel like they're probably going to churn some yards out on the ground, that kind of ground and pound of Matt Ryan. What are they going to do? It's out in Denver. So the altitude, does it wear you down? That always – how much does that play into effect? Who knows? But I like that, keeping the ball on the ground. Okay, so what else do you have for us?
All right, I'm going to stick now Bengals, Ravens, right? So Hayden Hurst is minus 115 for 25.5 receiving yards. Over 25.5, I think that happens. Bengals still throwing it. Hayden Hurst, more than 25.5.
What are the odds on that?
It's minus 115.
I like that
that's
too.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I like that too.
That's my probably best one, and I like the plus 3. I think McPherson altitude, he can hit a long one if they need it. Keep it in there.
Okay.
I think that works for me.
Did you just say altitude? Did you just say altitude? Did you just say altitude in Baltimore?
Oh, I'm thinking Broncos. Yeah, forget it. Well, maybe there's a little altitude in Baltimore too. Is that sea level?
Yeah, I think it's about as close to sea level as you can get. It's bay level is what it is. It's Chesapeake Bay level.
McPherson's still worth 3 for me. So thanks for the correction.
All right. Oh, I just wanted to make sure that we were still talking about the same game there.
Yeah, we were.
Okay.
I wasn't. You were. Right game, wrong place. Right.
Okay.
I'm off to a loss because I bet Tommy G to wear a necktie, and he came in some kind of sweatshirt. What was that?
Yeah, I know. I saw that earlier in the Twitter replies that you had him there.
Very, very disappointing. All right, so here's one from the MAC. Now, we lost last week in the MAC because Miami had a tip pass that went back for an interception return, or they would have covered that. I think they were +1.
Yeah.
My Ohio Bobcats are -11 against Akron. Okay?
Okay.
Ohio has the worst defense in the league, but Akron has the worst offense. They only average 15 points a game. The Bobcats are averaging 442 yards of offense a game and 30 points. I think they get 11 on the Akron Zips.
Okay. Yeah.
How about that?
They are terrible. Akron is objectively awful. They don't score a lot of points. They haven't played anybody really all that well this year. I was looking at that line earlier trying to see if I liked Ohio. I didn't put it in my picks, but I do like Ohio in that game.
11's a little much because their defense does stink, but
yeah.
I think they can cover it if they get their yards.
But here's the thing. If they get up by a lot, it's not like Akron's going to probably make any kind of a comeback attempt either because their offense is just terrible.
Man, terrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
All
right.
Okay, so keep going.
You ready? Let's get to NASCAR. This is good stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were 1 for 2 last week in the NASCAR.
Eric Jones got into the top 10 for us. That's great. All right, so this one is on Charlotte's road course. This is a fabricated road course on the inside of the oval track. So the closest one is probably similar to Indianapolis. So we don't have rises. We don't have all that good stuff. So Joey Logano is -150 to get into the top 10. I love that. +200 if you want to get a little aggressive there. He's +200 to get in the top 5, and his last 2 at the track, his average finish is 4.5. And here's another good one for Joey Logano. He's +100 to finish in front of Daniel Suarez. Suarez won a couple road course races, but at Indy, he was 28th, and Logano was 6th. So I think let's get in on Joey Logano here to beat Daniel Suarez and at least get into the top 10. The top 5 is realistic, and you'll make more money, but a little riskier bet.
Okay, Joey Logano. You are a big Joey Logano guy this week. The Pennzoil, big into Pennzoil.
Pennzoil. I'll put it in my car if Joey wins. And actually, he's sponsored by Shell Pennzoil, so you get it like a discount at the pump if Joey wins.
Is that an actual thing?
Yeah, that's, you got to look that up. Get into the club.
Oh, well, then I guess we're all Joey Logano fans this way. I mean, if we're getting in this economy, if we're getting a discount at the pump, sign me up.
Oil's premium, man.
I am willing to be bought. And if you're gonna give me some gas at the pump, Joey, we'll see you.
It's all sponsor driven, Paul. Take it.
Mike, thank you so much. I appreciate it as always every week. Yeah, I was going to say, well, you know what we can do, Mike, is we can do like a jersey swap, and you give me the Schmaltz Philosophy shirt, and I'll give you the Not Too Picky shirt.
All right, only if it's signed, I'll do it.
Well, as long as yours is signed from you.
Absolutely. We'll sign it like right on the collar.
Oh,
so perfect. Then it's frameable.
Perfect.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
Keep it above the fold.
Oh, no doubt. Mike, as always, I love it, and hopefully Joey Logano brings it home for us, and we can fill up our gas tanks on Monday.
Absolutely. Discount gas is great gas.
All right. See you, Mike. Well, that's enough to convince me. Gas at the pump? I am sold. Absolutely sold. All right. We're going to take another break, and when we're back, Reed Mouse is going to join for an MLB playoff preview and some more picks for college football, NFL, and we'll get you on your way on the weekend. Stay with us on Not Too Picky.
Thick, high-quality glazes on our signature donuts before delivering them fresh from bakery to store every day. UDF, made for you.
If your AC or furnace is struggling, turn to the experts at Bartell's Heating and Cooling. Their certified technicians get the job done right the first time. And if you need a new unit, Bartell's will give you upfront pricing with no hidden fees. Plus, ask about Bartell's 0% interest financing for 60 months. Learn more at bartellsheatingandcooling.com. Bartell's Heating and Cooling, for a comfortable way of life. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, proudly sponsoring high school football with 3 locations in Mason, Liberty Township, and Ross, Ohio. Our 10-foot screens guarantee a great view from every seat in the house. Eli's Sports Bar and Grill, the best place in Cincinnati for sports, food, and fun.
Where can you turn when you're in pain? Turn where more high school, college, and pro athletes turn. Where your neighbors and weekend warriors turn. Turn to Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and get superior care on your schedule. That's the Beacon difference.
Check out our fresh arrivals at Jake Sweeney Used Cars. Over 250 used vehicles weekly. All makes, all models. From economy to luxury, Jake Sweeney, the original used car superstore.
We're back on Not Too Picky, and I am joined, as always, for the final segment of the show by Reed Mouse. Reed, how are you today?
It's absolutely fantastic.
Uh-oh.
Today.
Can I hear Reed? Can you hear Reed?
I don't think we can.
Hold on. Let's bring Reed on in here.
Turn me up, baby.
Turn up.
You're going to want to hear everything I'm going to say.
Turn up the mousetrap. His mic's on. His mic is on. What about over here on the mixer? We got the mixer on?
All right. Yeah, there we go. There it is. Hey,
there's the mouse.
This is what happens when Casey leaves us. Is we scramble.
We are scrambling without Casey McAllister.
Is the anchor of this whole operation.
Okay, wait. Hold on a second. We're back now on Not Too Picky.
There we go.
I'm joined by Reed Mouse. Reed, how are you today?
Absolutely fantastic. It's tough to go after Mike Schmaltz and what's his shirt?
Schmaltzlosophy.
Schmaltzlosophy.
A one of one.
Like I told you when we were off air, my favorite thing is every time he gives you a pick. Yeah. And he does this the 2 times he's been on. He's like, yeah, what do you think of that? Huh? Yeah? Yeah? You like that?
He's confident.
Right. I like that.
Sells the pick. I love it too.
And then he's giving us free gas and the whole 9 yards. He's promising the world.
Yeah, if you didn't listen to Mike's segment, if Joey Logano, was it that if he wins? If he wins the race, do we get free gas at Shell or something like that?
You get discounted. No way they're just giving it away.
Just free. You know how we know? I know that this show has made it on YouTube.
How?
We have the bots in the chat.
Ooh, we got bots?
There are bots in the chat. They're not giving us winners. They're just giving us little kissy faces.
I'm looking for an adult dating site. So if any of those bots have
you know what this one is, Reed?
It's
the best adult dating site.
That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. I'm sold.
All right. We have Major League Baseball playoffs to attend to, and I gave you that one. Do you have anything for us?
So you look at it. Well, no. We'll preview these playoffs a little bit. So there's 4 playoffs. This is the first year of the extended playoffs. Yeah. You know how passionate I am about baseball, and I think extended playoffs is good. They're doing a 3-game series for the wild card. The unique thing about it is the higher seed gets every home game, right?
Yeah.
So you're telling me, is there a series line that you really like? I don't like any of the series lines because it's tough to take the dog because they're all the visiting teams, all the lower teams, because they're playing as the away team for all 3 games. They're playing in hostile environment. They're going to be packed houses. So I don't like any of the dogs, and I really don't want to swallow the juice on the favorites. So I think the better way to approach the wild card series is truthfully going game by game. Picking your spots with the pitchers. Don't worry about the series lines. Always look at the pitching matchups, who you like. I think one really good one is going to be Max Scherzer versus Yu Darvish. I know Yu Darvish is a little unsung in the postseason. Yep. We've seen what Max Scherzer can do in the postseason. He's been fantastic. So maybe that's something to look at tomorrow night. I think that's the nightcap in the Mets versus the Padres.
Yep.
Another one is I think Jose Quintana is going to be the game 1 starter for the Cardinals. He's been lights out in the second half of the season, but you'd like to see, you'd almost like to hear more of a name there, right?
Yeah.
And that's a home team. So if you're looking for a dog, then, you might as well go with the Phillies in that first game.
Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to pick a team for the postseason. Neither one of us have teams that we're invested in the postseason. The Dodgers are the favorites right now at plus 340 to win the World Series. The Guardians are the longest shots at plus 3,500. I want to pick a team right now that can carry us through the month of October.
So one team that I've been on all the way since back in spring training, and this is a true story. I was out at a bar with my family, and I'm watching spring training games, and I'm watching the Mets play. And I'm like, this team's a wagon. Just watching spring training, and I'm like, dude, this team is loaded because you forget that they got Max Scherzer, you forget, and on top of Jacob deGrom, like this Mets team is going to be elite. I think what are they plus 900?
Plus 900.
I like those odds. I mean, that's a lot of juice versus the squeeze.
Juice
versus the squeeze.
They gave away the NL East though. They were up like 10.5 games.
I think the Braves in the second half of the season played at a pace of winning like 117 games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Mets still played well. The Mets won 100 games. They didn't give up the East. The Braves took it from them. The Braves are if I had to come off my Mets take, I would take the Braves second.
All right. So the Braves are plus 500. The Mets are plus 900. Are we picking the Mets?
I personally would love to pick the Mets. I'll throw some juice on that.
We're picking the Mets. I'm riding.
We're riding.
We're in this together.
What wins postseason in baseball? Pitching. And what do the Mets have? Two of the greatest pitchers. Two of the greatest.
They don't get hurt.
Right. Two of the greatest pitchers that you and I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And when dudes like Carlos Carrasco's anchoring your rotation, you're pretty loaded.
Yeah. All right. Mets plus 900. We're riding the Mets. Are we really doing this? We're riding the Mets in the postseason.
That's a good ticket, right? That's
plus 900.
You always talk about value. I like that value there. Plus 900.
Plus 900. We're on the Mets.
It's better than.
Do we want to pick an American League team too? So we kind of give ourselves some insurance so that if one team if the Mets lose in the wild card round, then we're sitting here on Monday's show going, okay, we got to re-pick.
In terms of my heart, I would like, and this is going to be an unpopular opinion, I would like if the Astros won. I know that.
Dusty.
Yeah, I really like Dusty. There's no one in the history of baseball that has deserved a World Series that hasn't got one yet than Dusty Baker.
A Mets-Astros World Series.
Yeah.
I can probably get behind the Mets. The Astros, it's still kind of a tough one for me, but I can get behind Dusty Baker. Yeah. I can get behind Dusty Baker.
I'm gonna make some baseball bets tomorrow.
Okay,
and maybe I'll tweet them out. But
all right. Let's get into college football. Let's get into everything that we're doing right now this weekend. Let's start in college football.
All right. So, a few weeks ago we had Casey barking into the mic because we liked a bunch of dogs.
Love the dogs.
I love a good theme. It makes for great TV. It makes for great YouTube. It makes great for not too picky. And the theme I'm wearing kind of a West Coast kind of,
You sort of with the 3/4 sleeves, you do look like you're going to hop on the surfboard.
I mean, I look like I'm just ready to go to the beach, but also I can go out in Hollywood. I got just beautiful blonde hair that's coming in full. I'm not losing it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like anyone, I know there's rumors going out there that says I'm losing my hair. They're lying. Don't believe them. That's Brandon over there. Brandon.
I don't even know if I can produce this to show myself. Yeah, I got it. I figured it out, Casey.
There we go. Attaboy.
I'm losing my hair. I can't hear Reed in my ear, but I can. It's going across the air, so that's good enough for me.
Okay, good.
Well, then good.
You're not worried about anything. You can't hear it. That's okay.
So I like some West Coast teams, and they are the two teams centered out of Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
So first off, I like UCLA. They are plus 3.5 against Utah. I really like that. I know Utah was the preseason. This is the Pac-12 team that everyone's got to look out for. And in subsequent weeks, people have kind of backed off of the Utes as the Pac-12 team. I think what Chip Kelly's got going on, what Chip's got down there and UCLA, I think he's got it brewing. I think that what UCLA and USC are building towards is going to be really put some life into that rivalry that's been, just so gone for so long. So I like them against Utah. And then secondly, I think people are calling USC frauds.
Are they?
They are. So there's some people that there's two people, right?
Okay.
There's those that call them frauds, and then there's people that are all the way on board the train, the Colin Cowherds of the world that are fully on. So they're playing Washington State. Washington State's a one-loss team, a very good team. That line opened up at 10.5.
It's now up to 13.
And all the tickets are on Washington State. So what's going on in LA? What's going on over there?
I'm sensing a system play here.
Well, it's just all the money is towards Washington State, and the books keep pulling back USC, making it tougher for them to cover. They're trying to draw in Washington State bettors. If you're on that hook, I'd get the heck off before we take you above water because USC is going to take you to the woodshed.
Okay. So you're on USC minus 13?
Yep, those are my West Coast bets, and I like one more bet in college football.
Okay.
And what are we looking for when you're betting? You're looking for overreactions, right? That's your number one way to kind of overreact the public, overreact to – that's what Vegas doesn't do. They never overreact.
Yep.
People overreact. Computers don't. I think there's going to be an overreaction about Georgia from last week. They had a 31-point spread against Missouri, right? I think it was between 31 and 34, and they almost lost the game.
Outright, yeah.
Outright. The spread comes out against Auburn this week. I think it's set at 30.
Yeah, we were talking about that with Jeremy.
Yep. 30 on that. And people are going to see that and be like, they could barely beat Missouri. How are they going to cover 30 against Auburn? So I'm looking at the overreaction from the public. Yeah. Vegas, the computers, they know what they're doing that make the lines. Give me the Bulldogs. I still think this is probably the best team in the nation.
You know what's wild about that, Reed, is that the spread right now is 29.5. The total in that game is 49.
Yeah, so they don't think Auburn's going to score at all.
No, so basically what that's saying, for those of you who might be new to gambling, Georgia, think about it. If you reason through that, as we try to introduce some of you to gambling. If you reason through that line, Georgia's basically a 30-point favorite, and the total is at 49, which basically tells you that they don't think that Auburn is going to score any points this weekend. And I would probably agree with that.
I'm going to put some money on Georgia.
I would agree with that. 29.5 is where it's at right now.
And if you want to go back into the mental side of thinking about the teams, because that's when you don't look at it just at face value, you start going like, oh, this is a bounce back week or something like that.
Yep.
Then that also plays for Georgia too, right?
Yep.
They're going to come out hungry. They had a bad week against Kent State a couple of weeks ago. Then they almost lose to Missouri. They're going to come out with a little bit of fire.
All right, I have two picks for you, and they're both favorites.
Ooh, okay.
I have done a lot of the underdogs so far this year alongside you, and I'm not rolling with underdogs in college. I have a couple of NFL picks. I'm not doing the college underdogs here. I have two, and they're familiar picks. I'm rolling with the favorite, TCU, minus 6.5. It's gotten under a touchdown, and that's why I like it. At Kansas, College game day. Who would have thought that you have the Red River rivalry and you have Texas A&M and Alabama, and College game day is going to Lawrence, Kansas for Kansas and TCU? What a sentence.
Well, I mean, Kansas is ranked for the first time in, 14 years
Forever.
or something like that. And TCU, I think Tom got under you a little bit. His daughter goes to TCU, and he's just talking up TCU all week. But
I like what I've seen out of TCU.
No, they look
Max
good.
Duggan, the
They look
quarterback,
good.
has them rolling, especially after what they did last week to Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma's really any good, but
can we talk about the Red River rivalry?
What do you want to talk
It
about?
has been downgraded. The name of that game has just been downgraded throughout the years. It was the Red River Shootout.
Yeah.
And it was the Red River Showdown. Then it was the Red River Rivalry. They're calling it this year the Red River Game.
Are they doing that this year?
I've seen multiple beat writers call it the Red River Game.
Oh, man, what a blow. I mean, Texas not back and Oklahoma just not good this year.
Nope. Tough.
Man. I mean, look at Brent Venables at Oklahoma. You bring him in after everything he did at Clemson as a defensive coordinator forever, one of the best defensive coordinators in all of college football. You bring him into Oklahoma, and then last week you give up, what was it, almost 50 points in the first half to TCU? That just can't happen. They'll get it figured out. I think Venables is a smart enough guy. He's a good enough coach that there's no reason to overreact necessarily to Oklahoma, I don't think. But for now, boy, there's no reason to trust Oklahoma, and there's no reason to send College game day to the Red River Game.
No, the Red River Game, not the shootout, showdown, or rivalry. It's the game. It's just a game.
It's just a game. All right, so I'm taking TCU at under a touchdown. If it gets
like
over
that.
a touchdown, maybe I'd rethink it. But if I can get it under a touchdown, I like that. And the other one, I am fading.
I like this great.
Whatever the public money is doing here, whatever has moved this line, 5.5 points.
Ooh,
UK should have won last week against Ole Miss.
Yeah, they played better.
They're -6 at home against South Carolina. It's opened at Kentucky -11.5. 77% of the money's on South Carolina. Only 40% of the bets. I love Will Levis. I love Kentucky this year. I think they can cover a touchdown at home.
Will Levis impressed me last week.
Didn't he?
I mean, he throws a good ball. He really does throw a good ball.
He spins it.
Oh, he spins it.
He spins it.
Gosh. Local guy, the running back.
Yes.
Tom McClain.
Yes.
Tom McClain, Fairfield.
Yes.
Fairfield grad.
I like what Kentucky was giving us last week.
I might ride with you.
Okay.
I'll
Ride
with you.
Look at that. Okay. Let's get in the NFL. Colts and Broncos. Seho, I think I have a graphic for this one. Colts and Broncos tonight. Thursday night football. Just a ugly game.
The Broncos, this is their third primetime game in 5 weeks. I'm tired of watching them. I'm done.
I am so sick of watching the Denver Broncos, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to watch the Broncos. Indy at 1-2-1 on the season. Denver at 2-2. Denver is 3.5-point favorites. Over-under set at 42. I saw on Twitter earlier, I think it was from the Action Network, the under is hit in 9 consecutive Colts games by an average of 8.7 points per game. We're going to hate watching this game anyway. Jeremy Kahn suggested the over for the reasons that you can go back and listen to. I just don't think these offenses are going to score a lot of points tonight. I would love to be proven wrong. I would love to talk with you on Monday. I
love points. We love points.
I would love to have a conversation where we enjoyed our Thursday night. I'd love it. I hate unders. They're no fun. Why do you not want to see points scored? But tonight I don't. I'm taking the under.
In 2015, this Seahawks Falcons game between Matt Ryan and Russell Wilson, the spread, the total would be like in the 50s.
Oh.
It'd be way higher. But 2022 just doesn't do it for us. You know what? I talked to you about this, and I don't know what you can read into this. So on DraftKings, you can look at the props, and the props for the over on passing is only about a yard off. I think for Matt Ryan, it's 229. For Russell Wilson, I think it's like 228, 227, something like that. But then you could also go head-to-head in the money line. And Russell Wilson's the favorite there, even though his prop line is lower than Matt Ryan. Just interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what you can read into that because the lines are so close, but it's just seems like an oversight on DraftKings' behalf. But 229, 228, that's real low.
It's real low. Denver Broncos minus 3.5 right now on DraftKings is plus 100. Colts at plus 3.5, that's minus 120. I'm not even going to pick a side here. I guess if I had to, if I really had to, I would probably lean towards the Colts at plus 3.5. But I hate everything about this game.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at this and I was making my bets earlier, I sometimes offensive coordinators just try to get way too creative with it. I think with this bet, I'm just going out of it. I like a teaser here. I do. I like a 6-point teaser on the Colts and the over. So give me the Colts plus 9.5 and the line at 36. I think they can get over 36. I really do. And if you made me pick either way of this game at the traditional line, I would go Colts. So I think I'm going to take the 6-point teaser for the Colts in the over.
Okay, 6-point teaser gets you at minus 120?
Yep.
Why not?
Yep.
Root for it. Okay, let's get to the game that we're all here to talk about. It is the Bengals and it is the Ravens. Again, if you are watching this show right now and you have a pick, I see some picks in the chat. Virginia plus 3, Jets plus 3.5 have been suggested in the chat. We're going to need a winner, and if there is not another suggestion, we're going to have to pick between Virginia and the Jets, but we'll do that to finish the show. Right now we have the Bengals and we have the Ravens. We're going to pick every which way of this game. Reed, I'll let you start.
So I've ridden the Bengals every single week. The first 4 weeks, I've picked them to cover. They're 2-2. Didn't cover the first 2 weeks. Have covered the last 2. Covered against Miami. I bet kind of big on that one for Thursday Night Football. I really like that. This way, I don't like it anyway. 3 points. If it was 2.5, well, I guess it helps me because I want to go to the Bengals way. But I was going to say if it was 2.5, I might be leaning Ravens and just hedging my heart because obviously I'm a Houday guy. I think I like the over. I haven't
Say it with your chest, Reed.
I think I like the over. I think the Ravens defense is exposed. I think the Bengals offense is getting back in the lab, and they're going to be cooking up greatness.
Okay, I'm going to take the Bengals money line here. I'm taking the Bengals outright. Vegas, you can keep the points. I don't like what the Ravens defense has done at all this season, the way that they have collapsed late in games. I think that favors the Bengals. I think that we've seen Joe Mixon have a lot of struggles this year in the run game, and I think a lot of the reasons why he has struggled have been pointed out publicly to the point where if he doesn't make an adjustment this week, if we don't see a return to normal, at least a look like a return to normal for Joe Mixon this week, then you're going to have bigger issues the rest of the season. I think this is a good opportunity for Joe Mixon to get back to the more normal version of Joe Mixon that we're used to. I think the Bengals have played well in prime time. I don't see any reason for that to not continue. I know the Ravens have a lot on their minds from last year where they got blown out of the water twice against the Bengals. They're going to want some revenge there. Both times the Bengals played the Ravens last year, they scored 41 points in each game. Don't need to keep reiterating that. Every one of you listening to this knows that. I like the Bengals to win this game on the road. It's a big game in the division. Both teams at 2-2. Still a little early in the season, but maybe a tone setter for the first half of the year. These teams won't meet again until Week 18. I like the Bengals to win this game on the road.
And this is also a little bit of the winner of this game is probably the third best team in the AFC, right?
Probably.
I mean, the Bills, everyone knows how good the Bills are, and the Chiefs have been absolutely explosive to begin this year. So this is kind of this is who you're looking at as this is the third team.
And you would think Miami, but now without Tua, you don't know how long Tua is going to be out. So this is probably, like you said, you're probably looking at the third best team. Okay. Anything else before we wrap up?
I will say this about
the total. Yeah, we haven't done the totals here. Do you have a total?
No, I do not have total.
Okay.
But I will say that tonight DraftKings is doing a promo. They've removed minus 225 for if there's no score on the first drive. It's even odds, plus 100.
If there's no score on the first drive of the game?
No score. No offensive score.
For both teams or just one team?
Just the first drive of the game.
Nerfy.
No, it's the first drive of the game.
Plus 100.
Plus 100. You can bet up to $50 on it. And this is what I'm going to tell you. Now that gambling is coming to Ohio, there's going to be, what, 25 books or something like that?
I think it's up to there's 25 mobile sports books at least, right. Yes.
You are a top recruit. You currently are a top recruit to these sports books. They want to get your business because they know you're a dummy who gambles too much, and they're going to throw all these promos at you. Take them. Take them all. Yeah. Seriously, there's going to be so much money out there for you to use, free bets, crazy odds to where it's a gimme.
Yeah. If you are a new gambler listening to this show from the state of Ohio and you have not created any sort of sports book accounts, like you haven't gone over, for me, I've created a lot of those accounts because I've gone over to Indiana. I won't be eligible for a lot of those promos, but if you have not created all those accounts and you will be eligible for those promos, I will be doing a whole show dedicated to how to make the most out of those bets because there are hundreds, if not in the four figures, amounts of money to be made just off the promos if you work them the right way. It's a little complicated on the math, and you have to have some money available to you to do it. But if you're willing to take the time to learn how to do it and you're willing to do it the right way and think through it and reason through it, there's money probably in Ohio in the four figures to be made literally as giveaway money just to get you onto these books. Right. And that's sometimes when you say like, oh, it's too good to be true, it's not necessarily that it's too good to be true. They want you to have that money because they want you to then use their books.
Right.
Even if you are not a prolific bettor, it's literally free money.
Yes. I think the two big ones, DraftKings and FanDuel, they're doing, if you sign up now, you get $100 in free bets, and that's not even, I think you get up to a $1,000 risk-free bet.
Yes. Right now, if you want to pre-register in Ohio for FanDuel, if you do not have an account yet, we're not sponsored by a book, so we use lines from everywhere. If you're listening and you want to sponsor us, we're not sponsored by a book. I get all the lines here from DraftKings, but we look at the FanDuel promos and everything else. FanDuel is running a promotion for pre-registration in Ohio right now that if you sign up, you won't be able to bet in Ohio until January 1st at midnight, but once it becomes legal, you'd be eligible for $100 in free bets plus whatever it is, the risk-free bet that you get at the beginning. But like I said, I'm gonna do all of that as we get a little closer, because there's just so much money that you don't want to leave on the table to be able to get all of those. And there are books that I haven't signed up for that we could all do together. A lot of the main ones, DraftKings, FanDuels, all those. Okay. The one other thing to note to wrap up the Bengals and the Ravens game before we get out of here, in the second half of games this year, this is from ESPN, Baltimore has given up an NFL worst 1,019 yards while allowing 67 points. They've lost twice this year, Reed, when they've been up 17 points in the second half. I think the Bengals get this done on the road. If you want to be safe, take the 3.5, especially at a field goal. I just think that this is a close game. Even if there are a lot of points scored, I think it's a close game. It may come down to a Justin Tucker, Evan McPherson field goal at the gun. And if it does, and you have that -3 line, then you're guaranteed at least a push either way. But I would lean towards the Bengals winning this one on the road.
Not only have they blown 2 17-point leads, they've only been trailing for a total of 14 seconds this season.
Yep. Okay, we have a chat streak. So just to wrap up.
Oh, yeah.
So we have the guest pick.
It's on fire.
The guest pick is the Commanders +1.5 against the Titans. Jeremy, we have to do it. I mean,
we're in.
Our hands are tied. We're in. We have to do it. But the Commanders +1.5 against the Titans is our group bet. I'm praying that maybe the line
wins, baby.
I'm praying the line maybe moves a little bit and we can get some help on that one. But
what's the chat bet?
The chat. So here are the options. The Jets +3.5 from Reed Rule, who honestly might be single-handedly responsible for this.
He's on fire.
Chat streak. Yeah,
dude's a genius. Sharp better.
We might as well just have him as the trademark better.
He's our sharp better.
Jets +3.5 against the Dolphins at home. Zach Wilson playing against the backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. Virginia +3 on Saturday. That's from Justin Fields. Let's take a look here at that game. Virginia +3.5 that's against Louisville at home. Ooh, I like both of those.
Let's bet them both, baby. Well, we got to pick one.
We got to pick one though. Reed also suggests Colts +3.5 tonight on the road against Denver.
I already gave the teaser. No,
okay.
No to that.
Okay, so Reed, we're going to scrap the Colts +3.5. So we have a decision between Virginia +3 and Jets +3.5. Virginia at home against Louisville.
Let's go Virginia.
You don't trust the Jets +3.5 against the Dolphins.
Zach Wilson does love to cook.
Zach Wilson loves to cook. Should we flip a coin?
Do we have a coin to flip?
I got Siri. Do we leave this?
Seho is scrambling for a coin.
No, I can use it right here.
No. I've got a pitching machine coin from
Okay. A pitching machine coin?
That's actually just a quarter.
Okay, here we go. This is live on
Reed
the
plays
air.
baseball.
I'm not too picky. Virginia +3 and the Jets +3.5. If it is heads, it's the Jets. If it's the tails, it's Virginia.
Heads.
What did I say it was?
It is Jets.
Jets +3.5 against the Dolphins. That's our
pick. Let's go. Let's rock and roll, baby. Zach Wilson.
For Casey and Brandon and for Reed, I'm Paul. Have a great weekend, everybody. It is just a phenomenal weekend of sports coverage all around the sports world. Hope you enjoyed it. It's been a jam-packed episode. Tons of picks in.
Gatta.
Hopefully we gave you some winners. And what do you got for us?
Gatta.
See you on Monday.